How to place a ceiling grid down in PractiCAD. PractiCAD offers a ceiling grid which can be placed on top of walls and used to snap grills to later. In this tutorial, we're going to snap a ceiling grid on top of the four corner points of this wall and show you the different varieties of placing ceiling grids in PractiCAD. We're going to go into the architectural bin and we're going to choose the custom ceiling. Now there are rectangular ceiling grids and round ceiling grids, but the custom ceiling grid is the most flexible. The custom ceiling grid allows you to snap between any points you want and it's going to generate the grid, kind of like the custom wall if you've watched the tutorials on that. We're going to pick the custom ceiling grid. Now what we're going to do is come over to the item box and notice that the general tab is depressed. All the properties for the ceiling grid are going to be done and kept under the general tab. In this tutorial, we're going to start by just changing the tile length to 2 foot and a tile width to 2 foot. So we're going to have a 2 by 2 square for our grid. The remaining of these parameters we're going to go over after we've placed the ceiling grid because it's going to make it easier to demonstrate in this tutorial. What we're going to do here is we're going to put an elevation down. The top of this wall happens to be at 120 inches, so I'm going to put 120 inches. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the first corner point and we're going to click once. Notice that PractiCAD is using the node point to snap to the corners. We use the node object snap to snap the corners. We're going to click to start. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the next corner point. Once we do that, you're going to see PractiCAD start to draw the ceiling grid at a 2 by 2 foot grid square. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the next corner point and click. And last, we're going to come to this corner point. Now what we're going to do is click one more time. Now notice here that we still got control of the grid. If we hit enter right here, PractiCAD is going to fill the grid by drawing a line, a straight line, from the last point we clicked to the first point we clicked. So what we're going to do here is we're going to hit the enter key. Once I do that, you'll notice that if I move the mouse, the grid is now asking us for the offset. We have two options here. We can either center this grill by looking in a command line. You can see it says C for center. Specify the offset or C for center. If we just hit C spacebar, that's going to center the grid right in the wall we've got here, and you're going to have the exact same distance on all four corners. Now, we can also set the grid to offset from a specific corner. What we're going to do here is we're going to go into architecturals, we're going to grab the custom ceiling, and we're going to click once, twice, 3 times for this corner point, and then we're going to click one more time. And here we're going to hit enter again. But this time we're going to offset the grid. Imagine we'd like the first corner point of the first grid tile to start exactly 12 inches over and 12 inches up from the last point we clicked. The last point we clicked on is right here. What we can do is we can type in the X, Y, Z parameters, and PractiCAD will start the grid tiles at that point. For example, we're going to put in the @ symbol. Remember in other tutorials, you must put in the @ symbol. It's at X, Y, Z. We're going to say at 12 on the X, 12 on the Y, and the Z we can put 0, but we don't have to put anything in this particular case. But it's always done by X, Y, Z. So once we hit enter, you're going to see that now PractiCAD is asking us for a rotation angle. You'll notice that we can put this at a 45, a 90. What we're going to do is where it says specify rotation around self axis, I'm going to type in 0 and hit enter. And that's going to make it go at 0 rotation. It's also going to make it so that this point right here, if we use a linear dimension line and snap from here to here, you can see we're exactly 12 inches on the Y and 12 inches on the X. So we have successfully placed the ceiling grid down on top of the wall, 24 by 24, and we've offset the corner 12 inches over and 12 inches up. The next thing we're going to show you is how to adjust all of the properties. We went into the fitting or item box. We showed you the properties, but we're going to go over them one at a time. I'm going to double click on the ceiling grid. And here you can see that we can edit the ceiling grid in a variety of ways by coming into the AutoCAD property box. You'll notice that you've got nodes available here which allow you to stretch ceiling grids to wherever you need it, or you can reconnect. So you can edit the ceiling grid by using the stretch commands. Also, we can change all the technology parameters. Notice we have tile visibility. We're going to switch it to no. If we do that, you're no longer going to see the grid. So you can control the visibility of your tiles. Here we're going to put it back to yes. We've got tile length and width. We can type in 24 by 24 and adjust those tiles to fit. Then we've got tile angle. Currently, everything has been set at 0, but we could say took tile angle 45 degrees and now it's at a 45-degree angle. Or we can go back and put it at 90. Next we got pattern type, and we can choose a variety of methods, and the pattern types are basically going to come from whatever you've got in your AutoCAD. You'll see here that we can choose a custom pattern type, and we're going to go to pattern name, and we're just going to choose whatever one we have here as the default. We're going to try the ANSI 37. And when we do that, you can see that we're going to get the different types of patterns. So the ceiling grid can look however you'd like. When we choose a pattern name, we're going to get pattern scale. We can lower this scale or raise the scale. And that's going to affect how crowded the actual pattern scales are. And there are separate tutorials on LT scale in the AutoCAD sections. And of course here we've got the pattern angle. We can change the pattern angle separate from what we've actually got as the tile angle. So here we changed it to 45. If we put it at 0, you can see that that one naturally comes on an angle. So we can make all those adjustments after we put the ceiling grid down, or if we knew which pattern types and tile angles we wanted to use, we could do that from the item box. That'll conclude the tutorials on designing a ceiling grid.